Greetings, folks. It's Pat back with another episode of Let's Talk Travel. And with all of the changes in the cruise industry, I decided it's time to do an update and give everybody the scoop on where things stand with the cruise protocols right now for your favorite cruise line. And if you are a live listener, you want to pay close attention because we're going to have a fabulous giveaway again this evening. As usual, we'll have our drawing, and somebody is going to win a fabulous set of those reusable luggage tag protectors that we love to give away on all things cruise when we're talking about cruises. So stay tuned this evening for your chance to win there. And as I said, things are changing rapidly in the cruise industry, and frankly, much quicker than I had personally expected them to change. I really thought that we wouldn't get this far with the vaccination and other testing protocols and so forth in the industry until sometime next year. But here we are, and changes are just happening so quickly that some of this may actually change in the next few days. You never know. Things are evolving very quickly. So I'm just going to go through the various cruise lines. I'm going to classify the cruise lines this evening by the popularly priced contemporary cruise lines, the premium cruise lines, and the luxury, and finally the river cruise market. I'm going to touch on all of that this evening. So stay tuned. Chances are that your favorite cruise line's current protocols are going to be mentioned in this evening's broadcast. And if you are a cruiser and perhaps you're unvaccinated and you have been unable to cruise for the past 3 years, really, stay tuned because that is changing and your opportunities, the doors are opening for you folks. So we'll be touching on all of that this evening. And I am going to start in this evening, just going through. And I apologize that I'm going to be doing some reading here on the paperwork because there's a lot of information here, and it's more than I could possibly have memorized, or I would be missing things for sure. We're going to start off with the ever popular Carnival cruise line. And as of September 6th, folks, guests no longer have to be vaccinated in order to sail with Carnival, with very few exceptions, and that would be if you're sailing to Australia. There are also some requirements, special requirements. We have some destinations that do have special requirements, and those would be particularly Canada, Bermuda, Greece, and Australia. So those destinations do have special requirements, and if you're sailing to one of those, you will want to check in on what those are, because there are sometimes vaccination requirements, certainly testing requirements that the cruise lines have to meet. But as of September 6th, for the most part, sailings under 16 days, that's most of you folks, that's most of the Caribbean cruises, most of the Med cruises, and Alaska. Now, Alaska is a special case because all of those stop in Canada. So you do want to pay attention to those special requirements for those sailings. But as for testing, only those guests who are unable to provide proof of inoculation need to test currently with those cruises that we have mentioned, the 16 days or less. Those tests must be done within 72 hours, 3 days of sailing, and self-testing is permitted in addition to the lab-administered tests. All of the tests, however they're administered, must be medically supervised for destinations Bermuda, Canada, Greece, and Australia. Then we move on, and we're going to go on to Disney. And Disney Cruise Lines, folks, their protocols as of September 23rd, that's just in about a few days. Vaccinated guests will not need to take any pre-cruise tests as of that September 23rd. No pre-cruise testing will be required on Disney. Unvaccinated guests will still need to test, but you will not need to take a second test at the pier in order to board. That's a change for them because they had previously had those requirements in place. So again, unvaccinated guests will be welcome with meeting the testing requirements. One of our lesser known cruise lines, perhaps for many of you, MSC Cruises. They are sailing from Port Canaveral these days. They sail from Miami. And as of September 1st, so as of now, you no longer need to be vaccinated. And those who are those who are vaccinated no longer need to test prior to boarding. However, if you are unvaccinated, you are welcome aboard. However, you must present negative test requirements are required within 3 days of boarding. And of course, as with most cruise lines, small children under 2 are not required to test. Norwegian Cruise Lines. Norwegian will welcome unvaccinated guests. That was as of September 3rd. One of the leaders in the industry always. Norwegian is open for unvaccinated guests as of now. If you are fully vaccinated, however, you will no longer be required to test in order to board. If you are unvaccinated, you do need to provide that PCR or antigen test taken within 72 hours prior to boarding. And let's see now here. I think that, Royal Caribbean. We have not covered Royal Caribbean as yet. And this is effective as of September 5th. So as of the airing of this program, no longer need to be vaccinated, except, of course, in Australia, Bermuda, Canada, and Singapore. Unvaccinated guests do need to test. Any commercially available tests, including self-tests, are acceptable. And pre-cruise testing for fully vaccinated guests that if you are fully vaccinated, if you're sailing for 10 nights or longer, then you do need to test. Other than that, if you're fully vaccinated, no testing required in order to sail with Royal Caribbean. And that pretty much covers it I love this image, by the way, of Royal Caribbean. I love that. That's Allure of the Seas. We sailed on her back in May. What a fabulous ship. I loved sailing on these huge Oasis-class ships. They are indeed like a city on the water. Very, very beautiful. And it is amazing how they handle the number of people that sail on those ships. And you never feel like there are 6,000 people on board with you. It's rather amazing to even think about that. Then moving on now, we're going to move on to the premium brands that include Celebrity, Holland America, Princess, and Virgin Cruise Lines. And we're going to touch on their requirements. So if you like a premium cruise experience, you like for, a little bit higher caliber service and, let's be frank about it, elevated cuisine and a little more of a luxury flair when you're on board, we would be starting off with Celebrity, always a great choice for you premium cruise brands. And this is as of September 5th. So as of now, that's a reflection, by the way. I was just on board that ship recently and fabulous experience. But as of September 5th, guests no longer required to be vaccinated on most U.S. and European sailings. Vaccinated guests, you no longer need to test for voyages unless you're sailing for 9 nights or longer, except for those Canada and Bermuda sailings, of course, which are an exception to those rules. Pre-cruise testing for those who are unvaccinated or people on 10 nights or longer can be self-administered, except for the usual exceptions for Australia, Bermuda, Canada, Greece, New Zealand. And you can go ahead and plan to sail. Unvaccinated guests just need to provide those test results. Moving on to that, to Holland America. As you know, one of my favorite choices for a cruise. Looking forward to sailing on board with them in November. I'm very anxious to get another Holland America fix. It's been far too long since I've been on board one of their sailings. But as of September 6th, guests no longer have to be vaccinated. So as of now, you are cleared to go if you are not vaccinated. And this involves cruises under 16 days in length. If you are vaccinated, you're not required to test prior to boarding. Only unvaccinated guests need to test for COVID-19, and that is within 72 days of sailing. By the way, some people inquire still about the mask requirements. Very few mask requirements on board most of the cruise lines these days. That pretty much has gone by the wayside. If there are special circumstances, there may be some times when they would require that, but they're the unusual circumstances, and you would be advised on board. But for the most part, masks have been eliminated on board most of the sailings. Moving on now to the other premium cruise lines. Princess, again, as September 6th was their date when they waived the vaccination requirements for all sailing 16 days or less. So that's most of you sailing from European or U.S. Caribbean itineraries. If you are vaccinated and upload your documentation, you are not required to test prior to boarding. Only unvaccinated guests are required to test 72 hours or more prior to boarding. And the final one in the this particular category is Virgin Voyages. And Virgin still has testing requirements in place. Hang on just a second. Got to get around to the end of this here. But they are, they still have the vaccination requirement in place at the present time. 90% of passengers must be vaccinated. So there's a 10% window for those of you who are not vaccinated to book a sailing with them. You just need to check that the sailing that you are looking at has not already met the threshold and they have room available for you. And as of July 24th, European, and July 27th, the cruise line is no longer requiring pre-cruise testing for vaccinated guests. So that pretty much covers it for our premium category cruises. And moving on then to you luxury lovers out there. These are the brands Azamara, Cunard, Ponant. I've included a few others in here that are very popular with our passengers. Azamara is one of those I call luxury light. They are ultra premium cruise line as of December 1st. So currently they still are requiring vaccination, but as of December 1st, so just a couple of months down the way, if you're sailing the Caribbean and European destinations, you will no longer be required to be vaccinated with Azamara. Cunard. Cunard is still requiring vaccination. This is an exception. All guests 16 years and older are still required to be vaccinated if you are sailing aboard Cunard. As of September 6th, testing is no longer mandatory for guests, it is still highly recommended. Why not just get the test? If you are sailing, you might as well just be sure that you are testing negative and can not going to have any issues with that. Another cruise line in this category that may not be quite so familiar to many of you is Ponant. If you want to know more about this particular cruise line, stay tuned because they will be our guest on Let's Talk Travel next week. We'll be talking with Ponant, and you can learn more about this French-based cruise lines. They currently still require vaccination. All passengers 16 years of age or older must be fully vaccinated, and you still must provide testing within 72 hours of boarding if you are sailing aboard one of Ponant's cruises. Another category in this luxury cruise line is Seabourn. As of September 6th, Seabourn is no longer requiring vaccination for any voyage 16 days of length or less, except of course for those locations that are requiring you to be vaccinated. Again, that's Australia, Bermuda, Canada, Greece. You need to comply with the special requirements for those particular destinations. Silversea is another category, another cruise line in this premium luxury category. And if you sail on Silversea as of September 5th, you are no longer required to be vaccinated, of course, as long as the destination is in agreement with that. Vaccinated passengers no longer need to test. Only unvaccinated passengers will need to test if you're sailing with Silversea. I have put Uncruise Adventures in this category too. They are one of the unusual small cruise experiences that are very casual, almost expedition-like in many respects. They are still requiring all guests be fully vaccinated, including, in this case, Uncruise Adventures does require at least one booster. You must be able to show proof of booster, and also pre-cruise testing is requested. They don't require it technically, but if you're sailing on Uncruise Adventures, you should just plan to go ahead and get the test within 72 hours of your departure date. They appreciate that test. Now, if you are, some folks are a little less than happy that the doors have opened and unvaccinated people are now welcome on cruise lines. I get it. It has been a safe haven for people who want to sail in an environment where they felt like they knew everybody on board was vaccinated. They knew everybody on board had tested negative. So they had a little bit of a letdown when the cruise lines opened the door for unvaccinated folks. Uncruise Adventures would be a great choice for you if you still want to cruise and you want to do that in an environment where you know that everybody on board is vaccinated and has tested. Uncruise would be. It's also a small ship environment, which a lot of people really appreciate these days. The smaller cruise environment means fewer people on board and less chance of exposure. So if you are looking for an experience like that where you know everybody's vaccinated, Uncruise would be a great choice for you for that. And the other one that I have included in this category for our cruise updates is Windstar. And Windstar, I don't have their information. I'm sorry. I had included them, but I don't see that I have their information. So we'll just skip over them. I believe, though, that they are one of the providers, if my recollection serves me correctly, that are still requiring vaccination. Finally, I wanted to move on, and I do want to include information for the river cruise companies, as many of our clients love the river cruise experience, and they do have different requirements. Most of them, folks, are still requiring vaccination. So if you want to sail in a fully vaccinated environment, the river cruise is a great choice for you. They also tend to have a higher level of luxury. So great choice for you luxury lovers out there on most scores. Avalon Waterways is our first offering under this category. They do require all guests still to be fully vaccinated prior to their river cruise. And do bear in mind, these river cruise companies will sail frequently to many different countries on one itinerary, and what one country considers fully vaccinated may differ somewhat from another country that you visit. So it is very, you just need to be cognizant of each country's requirement. That's where travel agents can really help you when you are trying to determine what the requirements, if you're sailing on a river cruise, what those requirements might be. So Avalon Waterways, fully vaccinated still. I don't know when, if that is going to change. Have not heard anything on that score. American Cruise Lines, that is one of your providers here in the U.S. They do Mississippi River, Snake River, Columbia River. Most navigable waterways in the U.S. will have be served by at least one or American Cruise Line sailing. With them, you are required to complete a health questionnaire that certifies your COVID vaccination status. In order to be considered fully vaccinated with them, you must have received and provide proof of vaccination. You must have completed at least your two requisite. Unvaccinated guests, if you sail with American Cruise Lines, you may be subject to additional testing and possible quarantine requirements. And staff and crew are still fully vaccinated and are still required to wear face masks on board with them. Avalon Waterways, folks, if you want to do a river cruise and have not been vaccinated, Avalon is one of the handful of river cruise companies that I have found that is currently not requiring guests to be vaccinated, and that is starting in March of 2023. So if you are unvaccinated and would like to do a river cruise next summer with Avalon Cruise Lines in Europe, would be a great choice for you up until March of next year. However, if you are sailing with Avalon, you do need to be able to prove your fully vaccinated status with them. Moving along here on the river cruise front, just trying to find my note on that one. We have Talk. Talk is a high-end, one of our highest-end river cruise companies. Have sailed with a river cruise with them. Absolute amazing choice. If you want totally all-included, Talk is a wonderful choice. They still require all guests ages 12 and over must be vaccinated to travel with Talk. And I believe that is still true with all of their land tours as well as their river cruises. If more than 270 days have passed since your last shot, you need to be boosted prior to sailing with them. No boosting is required if you can show proof of having recovered with COVID-19 within 180 days of your travel date. Uniworld, our other luxury provider for river cruise market, all inclusive, fabulous, one of our big go-tos for the river cruise market. Still, for all of 2022, all guests are required to be vaccinated when sailing with Uniworld Boutique River Cruises. Final dose must be administered within 2 weeks of embarkation. Some boosters are required depending on destination, so good to check with them. Beginning in 2023, folks, here's another big one for you. If you are not vaccinated, Uniworld will no longer require vaccination. So Uniworld is the other choice along with Avalon. If you are not vaccinated and want to sail, do a river cruise in 2023, if you are a luxury lover, then Uniworld is a perfect choice for you to sail. And finally, our last river cruise provider, Viking. Everybody knows Viking. You see all of their advertisements on TV. So you see them on TV all the time. You see them everywhere. They do require that you are vaccinated. This is going to hold true. I don't see any notices that it will expire anytime. So for the present time, all Viking passengers need to plan to be vaccinated in order to sail with Viking River Cruises. Folks, that's it for this evening on our update on the cruise standings and new health protocols with the ocean and river cruise markets for the current time and into 2023. Latest information I was able to glean for all of those. And if you are listening live this evening, and I hope you are, and you want to receive our luggage tag protectors, these are great. They're reusable. I don't have them. I'm out of town doing this on the go, but I don't have them with me. But these are great plastic sleeves for you cruisers who love to cruise. Just you slide your luggage tags into these, and they are firmly attached to your luggage. They won't get dislodged. Those paper ones can tear, and these will make sure that your luggage arrives safely in your room on your cruises. So if you are listening live this evening on Let's Talk Travel, please enter the words cruise update. We're going to use cruise update this evening. Just enter those in the comments section this evening, and you will be entered into our drawing this evening for the cruise tag protectors. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Let's Talk Travel. This is Pat at Dancing Moon Travel, and I hope you'll tune in again and join us next week. Appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Bye now.